when we first launched THORChain, we wanted to have really deep pools. And the reason why that's so important is because the deeper the pool, the larger the trade you can take basically without paying exorbitant amounts of fees, right? And so we wanted to have really deep pools. That's partially why we had the whole rune in all the pools. That's part of the equation. Then we came up with this idea of streaming swaps, where you can have a really big trade but not pay exorbitant amounts of fees, which was the size of the pool was supposed to do initially. But now we just trade the depth of the pool with time, right? So the trade takes longer, so being executed in a single block, and now executes in 10 blocks or 20 blocks or whatever quantity of blocks it is to achieve the same outcome, right? Now, taking even a step further with rapid swaps, you kind of remove the time element, and you're going back towards a single block, sort of, not literally, but possibly, and for some cases that might be the case. But you're getting closer to back to that, like you're still taking the advantage of that streaming swap and giving that really good price, really great price execution. But now you're getting the time to go back towards one block again, right? And it doesn't really matter. I mean, it does matter somewhat, but it doesn't really matter if the pool is super deep or the pool is shallow. I mean, there is a difference between those two things. I'm not saying that they're one and the same, but it's not as big of a difference as it was on THORChain day one, when we didn't have streaming swaps and we didn't have rapid swaps, and we relied solely on the size of the pool to make large trades possible, which is why we always wanted to have deeper and deeper and deeper pools. So, I mean, there's not a downside to having deeper pools. It's only upside. So you're never going to hear me argue we should have smaller pools. But my argue is, though, it's like by growing the POL, how much value does the community actually get, or the swapper actually get, of increasing the POL? It sounds like there's more liquidity, but the problem is not the problem, but the other side is that, like, liquidity is no longer just the pool. Liquidity with rapid swaps is now the arbs as well. Arbs are providing the liquidity in effect, right? Which is very similar to what conceptually somewhat similar, at least, to what concentrated liquidity was in some ways, right? By focusing your liquidity on a narrower kind of scope, you are in effect kind of arbing a little bit the price of the pool, so to speak, right? It's not exactly 1-to-1, but in the vicinity of. So you can make a rational argument that increasing the size of the POL, it does not necessarily mean that it's necessarily like better, at least not in the way that it used to. And does that mean we can have $10 pools and everything's fine? Of fucking course not. That's not what I'm saying, right? But going from a $50 million pool to a $80 million pool, how much of a change is that really? Now, the streaming swap itself will get larger on that case. So the size of the sub swap will be larger, meaning that instead of doing it in 10 trades, we're going to do it in 7 trades or something like this, right? But we also have the rapid swaps making it happen, more or less in the same amount of time, whether it's 10 trades or 7 trades, right? It's like execution is almost the same, or very close to it, right? So the question has become like, well, what kind of value do we get out of the POL growing to some exorbitantly large numbers? I'm not sure it
I
does.